This call is our Q&A call. So I like to start with anybody who has questions about anything that we are covering. So I'm going to switch microphones. I have a microphone, so I'm going to change to that, and you tell me if you can hear me okay. Can you hear me?
It's actually better. It's actually much better.
It's a really good microphone, so that's kind of cool. Yeah, I got, it's actually our podcast guy. They just came out, Rode. This is, let's see. Rode just came out with this little one that's it's a really nice USB microphone, and he said that he said you can do way better. You can sound way better with this. So I've been using an app called Crisp, KRISP, and if you guys are looking for a way to take background noise out and stuff like that, this Crisp microphone, which is a virtual microphone, works really well. So this is the Crisp microphone. Now I'm talking through the Crisp microphone, and so you can kind of hear. What's cool about that is that if you've got noise in the background, like if somebody's blowing a leaf blower, as frequently happens here in California, or your dogs are barking in the background or something like that, this Crisp microphone takes out all of that noise. But now if I switch to the Rode, this one is now supposed to sound a whole lot better, right? Now it will also take out that noise because it's a unidirectional microphone, meaning that it has a path of hearing the voice only from in front as opposed to all around, which is an omnidirectional. So just a little tech talk for you guys. I am using the Crisp speaker, which is the virtual speaker thing, which means when I'm listening to you guys, if you have background noise, and or if somebody's talking, like if somebody forgets to mute or something like that, it takes all of that stuff out. So I would check out that Crisp. The Rode microphone, if you're looking for it, is a Rode NT USB Mini, and the app that I was talking about, which is free by the way, is Crisp, KRISP. So that takes care of our tech stuff for the morning. But and then just because a lot of people have asked. What I draw on when I'm drawing is I use an iPad Pro, and I'm using the Apple Pencil. So whenever I draw on here, it's basically just mirrored onto the Zoom app. And Zoom has a little plugin that's free also, that when you select share screen, you can pick this option. So if I click on that right now, there's to the right, there's a thing called Whiteboard, which I don't have a place to write that, but there's also a thing called iPad, iPhone AirPlay connection. And so I just click share on that when I'm drawing for you guys, and that's how we're able to do that. That said, how's everybody doing? What's going on? I'm gonna put the chat window up so I can see you guys, but let me know any questions that you guys have. There's one thing I wanna talk about today really quickly, but any questions that you've got, let's hit them up. I see Erwin has a question about exit, and Shelly, it's spelled, KRISP, Eric and Sharon got you. Very cool. Awesome. Okay, so Erwin, what you got going on, man?
Hello, Roland. I hope you hear me fine. I'm sitting outside. So
you have a beautiful, I love all those cypress trees. That looks really nice.
Yeah, I got my boys in the swimming pool. That's why I'm sitting outside. So always making sure nothing happens with that.
All right.
So we've been talking a lot about investing in companies. And this afternoon, I've been looking at, and I found a company that would be interesting to
I don't know if you've got a little bit better mic, Erwin, but you're coming through really garbled. It's hard to understand what you're saying.
Oh, I'm going to try to speak. Is that better?
That is better.
Yeah. So I got my business partner company, and today I found a company in the United States that would be a really interesting company to exit to. So we haven't been really touching that topic about exit. Mm-hmm. What do we need to look at? What are important things, and so on? That's my question.
Sure, yeah, and we're actually going to release a program called Exit Ready, because obviously that's a significant amount of information. But I mean, the biggest thing is use your comps. We gave you a couple of sources for comps, but I would do research on the comps, and then I would look at mergers and acquisitions sites that are trend sites for private equity and find out who's buying in that area. So Crunchbase is a really good place to go and do that research. It's probably the least expensive. There are more expensive solutions, but a lot of them just draw on Crunchbase's data. So I'd look and say, you know, who is buying in that area? So what is the area?
I've got this already clear. So I do know the company that could buy.
Okay.
So now the step is, what do we need to look at?
Yeah. So I would definitely get an attorney to help you with that, because it's going to be somewhat complex. But the first step in approaching the company, if you're going to approach them directly, is knowing who to approach. And that's typically, there is a business development or mergers and acquisitions department. So that's who I would initially approach. And then I would find out, what is their criteria for investing? What's their investment criteria? So that you can get that directly from them, because very frequently they'll just tell you. And then you'll be able to frame your pitch in that way. Typically, you do not reveal the name of the company until you get farther into negotiations, because you don't want them, A, going around you, B, communicating with that company's competitors or employees or management, because you're probably not going to have those conversations with any of those people until you get a deal in principle done. And so the next thing is, you typically prepare a one-sheet document that just gives them a very rough overview. Like, this is a company located in the northwest of Spain that's in the railroad manufacturing industry, with top line revenue of 22 million and EBITDA, you know, between X and Y. That's about it. And then you're going to say, you know, is this something that you're interested in? So what you're soliciting is what's called IOIs, or indications of interest. And you'll get back then from you'll build your prospect list, including the people that you're talking to. But I'd also do that keyword research, you know, find potential strategic buyers, competitors, you know, all of those people. Then that's your outbound list. And then you send that kind of general information out to see if they're interested. If they're interested, they send in an IOI, an indication of interest. And then you would have a non-disclosure agreement then entered in between those people. And then you would, from that point, you would have some basic conversations with them and see who's truly interested. Like, that's just kind of a vetting process. You know, what are you looking for? Those kinds of things, have those initial conversations. And then you would, after the NDA is signed, send out the CIM, which is the CIM, or Confidential Information Memorandum, which has more details. And then you would be, at that point, soliciting a range of offers to be sure that you have an indication that, you know, that these guys are serious. Then after that, you would move to a letter of intent with one of the more interesting people. During that CIM process, you're probably going to, you know, boil it down to 5 or 10 serious players. Then one of them is going to come back with something that's interesting to you, and then you're going to go into a letter of intent, and then the letter of intent will lead ultimately to a standstill agreement, due diligence, and then you'll get into your definitive asset purchase or stock purchase agreement, and then, you know, all of the other ancillary documents that go around that you guys have most of the copies of.
And how would you do the multiplier? Because this would be just the reverse. So we would look, if we buy a company, we would put the multiplier as low as possible.
Yeah.
How would you calculate the multiplier that it's not too low but not too high?
Yeah, you'll find, so like whatever industry you're in, you can use resources like trade associations and things like that to find out. You're going to look for comps. So comparable sales is going to tell you what that is. And the industry, you know, anybody that's buying in that industry is going to know, like, you know, in the events industry, they say it's a 6 to 8 times. Now, you can get significantly more of that. I know that we did, but at least that gives you a guideline. So that's what you want. And then you just, you know, that's a negotiation after that, right? You're just saying, look, this is why we think it's more. Now, the big things that are going to be why it's worth more are going to be, what's the competitive advantage? What's the defensible intellectual property that nobody else has? what's the moat that's created that is uncrossable by the competition? And then what's the growth rate, the compounded year-over-year growth rate that's indicative that this company is going to be worth a ton of money? Those are the things that are going to be really critical to you getting extra, a premium on the company. Cool. Got it? All right. I like it. Great. Okay. What else do we have? Let's see. I have
Dave Senton has any question for you.
Okay, great. Dave, what you got?
Dave, you're muted. There you are.
I unmuted myself, and then that was super helpful. Okay, so Roland, what I'm working on is that we've sort of formed a group of folks here from the Epic training, and I've been handling a lot of the outreach. And in doing the outreach, it's caused a lot of connection with private equity companies, and I've been discussing my process of outreach with them. And sort of what's happening is I'm getting a lot of interest from private equity firms, and I've talked with people who've been in the outreach game for a while, and they've been sharing what their structure looks like. One of the equity firms is making me an offer to have them do their outreach, and what we've agreed on is a monthly fee plus a success fee at closing, right? It's a Lehman fee, which I'm sure you're familiar with, the Lehman fee.
Yep.
So all of that sounds great, and I have the real estate background, as you know, and so if I'm like assigning a contract, I've assigned the contract, my contract's going through to closing, I'm guaranteed to get paid out of escrow.
Yep.
What's the acquisition equivalent to that? How do I make sure that I don't get shaken out of a deal, or that I have a contract that in fact carries all the way through to closing? Because if I'm doing outreach, I find a great business, I hand it off to them, and they're doing the closing, I just see like I kind of got removed from that process.
Yeah,
how do I protect myself?
It's super easy. I mean, number one, you want to have a contract with them that specifies what the deal is. And then you also want to have a contract with the people that you're introducing them to that says, in the event, like you do your outreach, and then you're going to say, in the event that I introduce you to somebody that leads to a closing, I'll be paid a fee of X. It's going to be paid out of the closing. And then it's going to go into the escrow documents. It's going to go into the escrow instructions so that you get paid directly out of the deal, just like an attorney or an accountant or any of the other folks that are in that, in that boat. So if you've got that contract and you are staying in the loop enough to be sure that that you help the deal go along, then you shouldn't have a challenge with that. So, I mean, but ultimately you've got to count on, you'll have the ability to enforce, obviously, but that's always expensive. So you want to know that your relationship is adding enough value and you're staying plugged in enough to see that you're part of that escrow. So what you could agree on is you could say that when it comes to funding, there will be a clause in the definitive APA or SPA that says that I am to receive this fee from closing. And if you've got a contract on both sides, then it'd be pretty hard to have you get cut out.
Yeah, that was the piece that was missing, just figuring out how to get my contract into escrow. Once my contract's into escrow, then I'm happy, right? Because obviously escrow has to follow the escrow orders, and there's no way for me to get bypassed. Yep. And that's kind of where I was missing. It's just me having a fundamental misunderstanding of or a lack of understanding on how this process works.
What your attorney can also do is they can give you a security interest in the closing. In other words, you can say that I've got, basically I have a lien against the company for my fee, which is to be liquidated at close of escrow. And that way you're mucking up the financing if they try to screw with your ability to receive the fee. Because they're going to use financing too. Very few PEs or buyers just pay cash. They usually go and get leveraged funds from a bank. So the bank's going to do its own due diligence while they're doing their due diligence. It's usually a double deal that's going on. And so if they're looking at the contract and they're going through all the contracts, then they're going to be like, oh, well, this guy's got a lien on the deal. So that's got to be exterminated. That's going to be extinguished at escrow.
Okay. Got it. All right. Thank you, Roland.
You're very welcome. Okay, let me see, Dee. It looks like we skipped a couple people. Roy, hi.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying hi. Gia has a question about structuring international deals and discussions with a Canadian company and looking at Australia. Should we pull her up and chat with her?
Yeah, Gia, you unmute yourself, darling.
Okay, good. Finally got it. Hi.
Hey, what's going on?
Oh, everything is great. I love this. I'm sad, but that it's our final week. But
Well, keep in
so
mind
glad
you're
you get to-
keep in mind you're moving to the alumni, which is a nice community full of us, and we don't just stop talking to you forever. By the way, we have we did an alumni webinar I think last week. We've got another one coming up I think next week. So you'll still be plugged in.
Oh, I didn't know. That's fantastic news.
Yeah, and you'll also have an even larger group of people because everyone who's gone through before that's been part of either of these programs is in there. So I think we have about 500 people that are in that alumni group, and they're doing deals together. Jody Patel just closed a deal, or she's closing Tuesday, but she's got everything set to close a deal. And she's closing this Thursday, 2 days from now. So, and that was done with investment and assistance and consulting from several of the people in the alumni group. So you're only at the end of the beginning.
Yeah, I've been saying that same thing, and I know I forgot about the alumni group, but I'm excited about that, and I'm doing a couple of deals with a few people in the group already too,
Nice.
and I've had great support from everybody I've talked to.
Fantastic.
I'm working actually with a gentleman from the group, and he owns a Canadian company, and I have family in Australia, so I plan on acquiring companies over there, and I'm just, because it's another country, I know we're friends, Canada and the US, but it is still another country in terms of enforceability of contracts. And I know I have to create an SPV over there, I believe, unless I'm just buying assets or.
Yeah, you generally don't. I mean, if it's going to be the operating company, then it's probably better for it to be in the place it's operating. But as a holding company, like just to hold the investment, doesn't really matter where it is.
Okay.
There may be tax reasons for having it located in that jurisdiction or even a different jurisdiction, but that would be, that'd be a conversation with Grant.
Okay, so yeah, he's coming up later today. That's on my list.
It is. I was going to tell you this is good timing because you should definitely ask him about this as well. So what questions do you have I can answer?
Well, I mean, I guess that's what I was talking about. When you go into a different culture, because I was raised here, and I know that they're English-speaking countries. I know Irwin is all over the world, but this is, I'm doing business with an American, I think culturally is different than doing business with someone from Canada or Australia. So
I mean, only because we have guns with us at all times. That's,
right.
I mean,
Yes, well, I can't take my guns over to Canada. That's the only thing. They won't like that.
That's true.
So do you have some tips for me or some specific ways to, first off, to find a team in a foreign country? And what is the best way to go about doing that? And then what is the best way to learn how to deal with their culture?
So the best thing is always to do things by referral. So when we have deals that are international deals, we immediately reach out to our network if we don't already have someone there. To as far as building the team, like what we would do if we didn't know somebody in Canada and we're here in the United States and we want to do a deal there, then I'd start with the attorneys and accountants that I know that are here and say, who do you like working with? Have you worked with anybody on a deal up in Canada before? Particularly if it's in, say, Toronto versus Montreal versus, somewhere different. I'd say, do you know anybody that's in that particular area? And then they'll usually know somebody. And if not, they'll say, I don't, but let me reach out to my network. And so I like that referral thing best. And you have a pretty great network with the people here at Epic. So, to do that. Yeah. So that's what I would do, is identify where is the deal. Then it's really funny. Like, it's just like when speaking in a different country. like I spoke in Germany a few months back, and before this all happened, I think it was December, and I flew over, and I hadn't spoken in Germany before. I'd spent a lot of time in Germany. I don't speak German, although it seems to be pretty easy to understand. So I Googled, what are German greetings? What are customs? What are differences between, and so that just to get plugged in culturally. And I learned that when I was representing Tony Robbins as his attorney, before he went to any new place, he would immerse himself in the news of what was going on, what were the current events, and then what are the cultural things that are different, so you don't make a mistake. Like there are words in the UK that we use that mean something completely different and actually embarrassingly bad over there that, that even one of my business partners has done, which is fun. So we give him endless crap about that. So don't tell your business partners this. Let them, no, I'm just kidding. So I think that helps a lot. And then also learning a little bit of, I mean, obviously in Canada, it's the same language, but learning what are the localisms, or what are the different ways that they pronounce things and things like that. And this is, to me, like, this is the difference about, I think, what sets really successful people apart from everybody else is going the extra mile. Because you could just say, I'm going to buy a company in Canada, and you could go ahead and do that. And I'm going to hire my deal team and, in the United States, and let them handle it. You're already thinking ahead if you're saying, I want to get my deal team there. Now, there's no reason to not have your people that you know, like, and trust here quarterbacking that for you, like heading that up. But then the people, to me, that do extra well when you're having the conversations there, if you can use similar language and speak to them, and you're familiar with some of the things that are going on, that's a step above, which builds additional rapport, which will get you a more solid relationship and a better deal, not only up front, but going forward. And so same thing in foreign countries, like in Germany, I asked the people there, I was like, I want to say, hi, I'm so happy to be here. And I want to say it in German. So, if it takes, 30 minutes to do that. Now, you can also have wonderful experiences. Like I did that when I spoke at Tony's Business Mastery in Amsterdam, and it was Dutch, and it's, Dutch is, it's not really a language. It's like Huschen, Durden, Varden, but I'm just kidding. But it was hard to remember all the accents, and you got up there, and they do all the stuff that they do with the Tony thing for 10 minutes. And I'm like trying to remember the words, and all I could remember was how to say hi, but at least I had that, right? And I changed all my examples in my presentation from dollars to euros, and I changed all of the companies from American companies to Dutch companies. And the same thing goes true in your deals, that your comps, ideally, for determining, going to what Erwin was asking too, your comps should be comps that are denominated in the currency of the place that you're looking to buy, that you're speaking in terms of Canadian or Australian dollars instead of US dollars, that you are talking about other companies when you're talking about what's the future, and you're doing your due diligence and all those things. That extra effort that you spend to get plugged into that culture means the world. And so I think that's even something like in Europe, they call sales turnover, right? So when you're speaking in terms of, well, I see that your turnover is this, it's just those commonalities are really, really helpful beyond just, I should definitely have a, Canadian counsel that's able to be sure that I'm not violating any laws up there, or that I'm not running afoul of forgetting to tick a box that I should tick. That's the thing that, to me, makes international deals work the best, is that you really want to get plugged into their way of thinking and being. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, that's really helpful, and I'm really appreciative of the tip, because I was thinking about doing that business in a different country, and I dabbled it in college, but that was a few years ago.
Yeah,
So
right.
trying to remember what are you supposed to do, So I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Yeah. And then the other thing is, from a banking issue too, you just want to find out, what are the rules about that? What are the rules about ownership? Can an American citizen or an American company own an interest in this company, or a company that's owned or controlled by an American company? own that? Are there rules in taking cash out of the country? Like, am I going to be able to get my money out? We were really surprised the first time we did business. We acquired a company in Brazil and we couldn't take any money out, and it made a lot of money. So we ended up every year having to send a bunch of people down to have a retreat and spend all the profits that we made because we couldn't get it out of the country. So like,
Wow.
those are things that you want to know, before you go in. And I'm sure, Erwin, that you've run into that, a few times too. As you do international deals, it's definitely interesting. And I'll ask Erwin, since you're doing international deals, do you have anything to add to that?
Oh, there's so many things to add, but certainly culture is really important.
Yeah.
Because if you go to a country like even in Europe, the difference between Spain and Belgium, for example, the hours are completely different. The way how to do business, I don't know, but I've done business in Panama as well. And in Panama, they say come 12 o'clock and they come at 6 o'clock in the evening. So and you need to really adapt it. And it's not easy. I think the most important thing, if you look at the deal, is not the deal itself, is being able to adapt yourself to the culture of them, because that will open a door. It's like me, I'm Belgian, I came to Spain and just started, like you said, Roland, just starting to learn the language. Even if you speak it so badly, they will appreciate it. They will open the door, sit down, have a drink. It's like a lot of English people live here in Spain. They don't, for 20 years, don't speak a word of Spanish. And the Spanish don't like it. So it's like how you give a business card to a Chinese person or a Japanese person is completely different. These are details in international are so important because they can kill a deal in one instant.
Yeah. Yeah.
And always, and it's what you say, Roland, it is going to be very important to find a lawyer and maybe a translator that knows the culture, and before you go, that you learn something about, well, language could be difficult, but at least you learn the things about the culture that you need to look at. So you don't say anything stupid, because you can say word that means funny in English, and if you say it in French, they're going to say, what?
Or you use a gesture like that we use in America that might be very offensive in other places, right?
Exactly. In England, they say this, which basically, but I'm sorry I put the finger, but these are small things, and if you know the way how to play with that, and then another thing that's really interesting that you can use if you do international deals in another language, is sometimes they put a question to you, and you do not know how to answer. You need 2 or 3 minutes to think about it. You just say, I don't know how to say it in your language, and you give yourself an excuse to just think a little bit. How would I say it? How can I get out of here?
I like
there are
it.
many things. I can tell you so many things because I've done so many things internationally. But
I think that might be a good topic for a call, Deanna. And maybe Erwin will ask you for some help, and we'll get a couple of experts on and do a little thing. I think that would actually be a really good thing to be to people like Gia and
Happy
other.
to set that up.
Would be my pleasure. Yeah, would be my pleasure. So contact me and we'll talk.
Great. Thank you, Erwin. Yeah, and also, Gia, I know, like in China, we do deals in China, and you think you have a deal, but you never do. I mean, it's like they agree because they want to be agreeable, and you're like, okay, cool, we're good, and they're like, yep, and you leave, and then it's like nothing ever happens because you didn't ever have the deal. Or in the Philippines, when we first went in the Philippines, it was very frustrating because you've got a budget and everything, but they pay in December, they pay an extra month of compensation to everybody. So we had a couple hundred employees over there, and it was like, hey, surprise, you get to pay an extra month's payroll, and of course, if you're a stupid, culturally unaware American about it, you say, which I can say, because I am one of those, you can say, well, screw that, I'm not paying an extra month for that, but then they will all hate you and leave. So like you have to be aware that be aware and be open to taking that extra effort. That does, to me, that's the big difference between the successful and mediocre deals that you do internationally.
The last thing, if I can say, just the last thing I can say, and I think this is not only about deals but consulting, is don't impose your thing to them. Adapt to them, because then it will work.
Love it. Thank you so much. Okay, very cool. Let's see.
And then Roland, you also have Robert Pouch wanted to talk to you about a deal.
Okay, let me just see, because I'm trying to go in order. I see Dana ask, are all the documents that I just mentioned prepared by the attorney? Yes, they are, Dana, and you've got examples of all of those in your Kajabi. And if you don't, just to save Deanna yelling and screaming at me, if you don't, they will show up, because they show up as you progress through the program based on the things that will apply during that time. And we talked with Dave. And Shelly, you asked, are there sample agreements somewhere you found the sample for letter of intent but not anything else? So Deanna, can you help Shelly, can you help answer that for everybody right now with Shelly about the agreements? She got the LOI.
Yeah, so it should be all of the templates and checklists are in your Kajabi, and I believe, Bailey, they're under the group, the session 1, right? The group 1?
Yes.
Yeah, so if you go into your Kajabi and go to training 1.
Deanna, can one of you guys share your screen and show everybody? It's just easier that way.
Yeah, Bailey, can you pop yours up real quick? Yeah.
Yeah.
It should be right under there, under the training 1. So Bailey, if you could pop in there and just show your screen on that, that'd be great.
Yep. It's just under the LOI, correct?
It's actually the checklist and templates.
Right. Let me pull that up for you guys.
You should be able to share your screen.
There we go.
I made you a co-host, so you should be able to share. Yeah.
Cool. So we are going to log in here. And then lots of access here. So if you go in here to your...
What did you click on first, just so we get everybody? So you logged in.
Oh.
And...
Yeah. So you click on legs, you log into legs.
Mm-hmm.
What I went to, you can go to your library for quick access.
Mm-hmm.
So this is my library. I have, tons of things, but I went ahead and went to my last page here, because that's what you guys have access to, which is going to be this Epic
Bailey,
Accelerator program.
Bailey, let me jump in real quick. You may want to go through both, because if you're in the 2.0 group, yours looks different than 3.0. So let's just do that real quickly. Show the 2.0 first.
Yeah, for sure.
It will look different, but just before everybody asks, you have access to all the same documents. They all get, as we upgrade, improve, and add stuff, it gets added automatically to wherever you are. This is just for us to be able to keep track of it.
Right. So this is going to be your 2.0 additional training resources. And here's whenever you're going, if you're a 2.0, this is where you guys will find your templates. So if you go into Roland's trainings, and then you scroll all the way down to, it might be in your small group. So sorry, guys. It's going to be in your Epic Accelerator here, not your additional training. It's going to be here into your Epic Accelerator 2.0. And of course, I do not have permission. This is awesome.
See? This is good for us to
This is great.
We don't want you guys to run into challenges.
Right. So let me go ahead and go into my admin access. It's going to look a little different though. Okay. So if I go here to your Epic Accelerator and I hit preview up here, this is where it's going to show me what you guys are looking at.
Okay.
Here we are. So if we go here, and you go to, it's going to be training 1 under here, agreements, templates, and checklists. From here, you'll see your download. So you'll be able to download all of it. So this is the zip file that you can create or to download, and you'll have all 43 of them, plus your 44th one is going to be added here. So you'll have all of them in that zip file.
I think we're up to 50 some now, Bailey. So be sure that everybody.
Then we definitely need to update that. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And also, Bailey, go into 3.0, please, because theirs looks different. Theirs is color coded. So if you could show the 3.0.
For sure. So I'll go into Elite's. Yours is going to look the exact same You'll just have additional trainings in yours. But if you go into your accelerator program here, this is what you see. You'll see your color-coded categories here. It's going to be under the recommended content, and you'll see your templates and checklists under your deliverable content in there. Yeah. And then it's going to be downloadable. It's going to be another zip file, and it's going to have all of them in there as well.
Okay, so that's the latest one. So you want to just be sure that that gets put in the others.
2.0 for sure.
And guys, is there any way, and sorry guys for everybody that's listening, but this is hopefully helpful to you. Is there a way for us to make that uniform across like the 2.0s to come in and have this, or does that is it just too hard for you guys to keep track of?
No, we can do it. It will just be redundant. They would actually have 2 products, so they could choose which one they want.
Okay.
So we could actually give them access to the 3.0 because there's very separate products that we were built into Kajabi. But if they don't mind having 2 products in their library, they're welcome. We can absolutely do that.
Let's do that. So what that'll mean is it's you guys are all getting the same thing. It's just that we're improving the layout and everything. So like that change to the color-coded content and everything was in feedback from everybody that was in the first 2 sessions. Or the first 2 accelerators about how like they were getting overwhelmed and things like that. And so we decided, okay, well, it's better if we say, here's core content, here's recommended, meaning it's not essential, but we think it would be really good for you to have. And then here's the optional trainings and the bonus stuff, which is completely optional for the, hyper overachiever type people. So, so we'll make that available for everybody. And that way everybody can be sure that they have everything as it's going in. And, so that's a very long answer to your question, but you can stop sharing your screen. Thank you, Bailey and Deanna. Very long answer to your question, but I think that hopefully is helpful to everybody to actually get to see how all that stuff works. And now we'll have everybody having access to both of the presentations of it. So you can kind of see which one you like best. And if you have any feedback for us too, please, please let us know. Okay, let's see. So Suleiman just acquired an online business via one of the platforms, and it's working well, but we didn't do it $0 out of pocket as we did it before joining Epic. No worries. Can you share any thoughts of acquiring online businesses with $0 down? On these platforms, sellers don't seem to be interested unless you pay the full amount. Yeah, so a few, is Suleiman on? You cut out, Deanna. We couldn't hear what you said.
Hey, Roland.
There you are. How do we pronounce your name correctly?
Suleiman.
Suleiman. Okay, great. So so I'm guessing that you're talking about like a Biz Buy Sell Flippa, something like that. One of those.
Yeah. So we did it on Empire Flippers.
Empire Flippers. Okay.
Yeah. So we got a business through that, and after we did the acquisition, then I joined the Epic program. I was like, damn, we should have done, but it's working out pretty well. Good. But what I'm seeing is most of these online businesses, they seem to be pretty spoiled. They want the full cash. Yeah. Is that your experience as well, or is that just my inexperience because this is my first acquisition? I'm new to this game.
Yeah.
So,
it's a great question, and here's the answer. So the answer is that as you go through this program, you'll see that I'm very much about 2 things. One is I want motivated sellers. And 2 is the best deals are not the deals that are listed for sale. So what you get when you go to one of those sites typically is you get an unmotivated seller who's looking to get the maximum dollar possible through an auction process of having several different buyers look at their business, and they're not motivated. So they're an unmotivated seller going through a platform that's designed to get them the most money, and they're not terribly flexible usually. So that's the challenge, is that's the pool that you're looking in is not the ideal pool to do the best deals for you. So it's great because they're pre-aggregated for you, and maybe one that's been there for a while and hasn't sold would be good, but there are definitely plenty of people, just like if you ever buy ads on Google or Facebook, there are plenty of people that don't know what they're doing that are willing to pay way too much for ads. There are plenty of people that don't know what they're doing that are willing to pay too much for businesses. And there are plenty of sellers that think their business is worth 17 times what it should be. Just watch Shark Tank or Dragon's Den to see that. So I think the very first thing is think about, how can I find these motivated sellers, these people who are who have a reason to actually have a desire to sell quickly? And then how do I find them before they're listed on a platform that is designed to get them the most money? Because their expectation while they're going through that listing process, if you think about like an expectation curve, when you first decide to sell your business, you have no idea what you're going to get for it. So then you start talking to people, and then you start talking to brokers or looking on sites like that, and your expectations go way, way up because you're talking to people who are not actually buying businesses, right? You're talking to the highest highest value placing people that you will, including the people at the platform who go, dude, you have an online business. It should sell for 10 times, but that's because they want you to list on their thing. Just like a real estate agent, if you go to sell a property, is going to tell you that your place is worth, what do you think I can get for it? What do you want for it? I want 4 million. I think we can get you 4 million, right? Just list with me, sign this contract, pay my little fee, right? So that's the worst time in the expectation cycle to hit these people. Now, after they have had their house listed, business listed, et cetera, for a while, that expectation goes down a little bit more. And some of them will find buyers that are willing to pay that. That's not us, right? We're literally not willing to pay the top of the market, fair market value for a property or for a business. So then after they've had that little fluctuation and a little bit of reality and it hasn't sold for what they thought, they become more malleable on their price. They become more motivated. So as that expectation curve declines and the motivation curve increases, you start to see a more creative deal possibility. And again, remember, we don't mind paying the fair market value. We're about terms, right? So when you first list and you have that high expectation, you want cash now, right? But when you get in there for a little bit and you don't get what you want for a bit, then you become more flexible. And so that's part of the reason that I say it's really important to stay in touch with people, because you can have the conversations and I want all cash right now and this and that and the other. And I'm like, that is awesome, man. If you get that, I am very happy for you. I am interested in a little bit different deal with more creative financing terms. If things go in a way that you don't get everything that you're saying that you want right now, then let's stay in touch, because we might be able to work something out later. And that deal pipeline that you get from people who are at this point in the curve, and you stay with them as they trickle down, like as their illusions of grandeur of the value of their company become
realistic
by the reality of, not everybody's willing to do that, they become more flexible. And here's the cool thing. Now, the good thing about the businesses that list there that don't sell is that when you're having a conversation with them, you can say, oh, well, I see that, you've been trying to sell the business for a while now. Well, what happens is they become more motivated to sell because it's kind of like they've already spent the money. Like when you list your business and your broker tells you, or you list your real estate property and your broker tells you, yeah, we can get this for it. You're like, man, I can get a G5 and I can get, I can go to Antarctica on that cruise I wanted to go to. And then as time goes on, and I'm using this example because it's one that actually happened with some friends of mine. And as the due diligence happens, or the process drags on, or the buyers don't come at that initial price, or it's not all cash, then it goes to, well, I probably do it with a G2 and probably go, to Norway. And then later on it's, well, I could probably just fly first class on a plane. It's like their expectations get brought into line with something that you can make happen for them. So
absolutely. And you know what, that's what happened with this Empire Flippers deal. So it was listed at a 30 multiple.
Yes.
And then it didn't sell for 3 or 4 or 6 months. I don't know. So the multiple got down to 19. So we bought it at 19. So we got a, I think, okay deal.
Yeah.
But that is absolutely right. They tested their waters and the reality hit, and then we came at 19.
Yeah, and I think then what you have now in your arsenal of tools is the 19 then becomes the price, and the 19 becomes the price, but the flexibility of how it's going to be paid is so much greater because you've got all these tools that are available to you now. I like your assistant. Hello to your assistant.
That's my little daughter. Say hi, Drew.
Does that make sense? So like so now you've got the 19 multiple, not the 30, plus you've got, how about some seller financing? How about, we do this? How about we do that? And then keep in mind also, and pay close attention to the fact that we're not ever telling people we're going to pay nothing down for your business, or we're not going to pay you anything for your business. We are using all of the tools that we've got to figure out how can we get as close as possible to getting them what they want. So you're like, now you've agreed on the 19 times price, and then it becomes, okay, how can I do this with no money out of my pocket? And then you start looking at those 216 different strategies.
Yeah, no, this is exciting, Roland.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, let's see. Got it. Eric, Shelley, Aston. Let's see. If you're Aston, Anton. If you're acting as a deal finder and you get subject to compensation, don't you need a securities license in the U.S. in order to be able to do that and get compensated? That's a legal question. So Anton, I'm not going to answer it as a legal question. I'm going to say that you do not always need to do that. And there are generally other ways that the deal can be structured where that would not be required. So you want to chat with your attorney about it, or you could ask Grant Teeple about it in about 13 minutes, I think it is. Let's see. Eric, recommended content. Ryan, hi Roland, was wondering if you've ever deferred attorney's fees for due diligence by asking them to invoice after the deal or paying them after the, yeah, absolutely. And that's what we do with Grant. So we have the attorney's fees are paid out of the deal, and that's also industry practice. So that is how we do it. Let's see, Mike, great to hear that we'll still be able to ask questions in the alumni group. Just started getting caught up with the material. Off to legs. Okay, great, fantastic, good, good, good. Let's see. Sharon has a question on the deal team. Sharon, let's pull Sharon up.
Hey,
Sharon.
Roland.
Hey, Sharon, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you. So quick question with you are doing Peter Lang's acquisition. I wanted to get your thoughts on how are you really managing your team from that whole deal flow cycle. And I want to get some insight around that as I'm restructuring a lot for my team.
I am not going to be as helpful as I would like to be because I have still the email to respond to them about doing the onboarding because I just haven't had time. And I want to do it. So I am the bottleneck because I want to go through the process myself as, I talk with you guys about it. So so generally, the way that works is I would, my plan is once I have the experience myself is that we'll delegate that to one of the people that we have in-house who will be following up with those people. And then that's how we're going to do it. So I don't know if it's like, I don't have enough details about it because of I still have to respond to the email and give them the information they need. But ultimately you're going to want to have somebody that's responsible for doing that outreach and follow-up.
Yeah, right now I have 2 people earmarked, but I'm wondering if that's enough or just
and me too, right? It'll depend.
Yeah, we'll see.
But if you think about it, it's 700 basically leads per month. But then when it all filters down, I think it's going to be enough that 1 or 2 people could easily handle it. So I think it's just you go through that process and see. But it'd definitely be good. Deanna, could we maybe outreach, maybe you and Bailey could do some calls to the other 40 or 50 people that are using Peter's program, and then we could kind of get a best practices for everybody.
Absolutely. I'll absolutely work on that today.
For us to do a call with Peter and those people so that we can talk about that.
That's a great
Absolutely.
idea.
Yeah.
Great idea, Sharon.
Awesome.
Very cool. Thank you, Sharon.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Gary, own an investment banking firm under FINRA. Must be very careful. Aggregation doing okay, not a question. Let's see. Okay, Robert says that he would like to run through a deal concept just to check if it's even possible. So let's pull Roberto up.
Robert, you're good.
Hi, how you doing?
Hey, what's happening?
Good, I just want to make sure I'm not going crazy here.
All right.
I've been running this one through my mind quite a lot, and I just want to make sure I'm not barking up the wrong tree. Okay, so I'll try my elevator pitch here, because I know we've not got long. So my business sells corporate hospitality VIP days tickets out in the UK. And with revenues of about £16 million pre-COVID, with EBIT of about 1.5 million on a bad year. Now on a good, it's over 2. So the market is made up of one big kid in the playground called Keith Prowse, owned by Compass, £17 billion parent company. But they're turning over about 25 million with an EBIT of probably 5 or less than that. So the rest of the market is made up of lots of relatively owner-operated smaller businesses full of those, where it's nice lifestyle. They're probably pulling 125 in salary and maybe 500,000, 200 grand in dividends or in EBIT. So the problem is to offer these guys, which some of them are going to be unmotivated enough for them to release their business. They're going to want too much to walk away from a nice lifestyle. So what I thought was maybe creating a handful of us, myself and maybe 4 others with, ours is probably 1.5, say 2 million EBIT, get 4 others with 500 grand each, and come together where we all take part of a new co, but we all still are able to manage our businesses as we like to, and still take the dividends as we wish, but have the benefits of cost efficiencies with maybe combining a finance department, a HR department, and maybe have some economies of scale with buying power, and to really then put our 4 million combined EBIT up to 5 or 6, and then that would become on the radar of the big kid in the playground, which was Keith Prowse and their parent company, who are going through hell at the moment, and it will really test their appetite to support Keith Prowse, because they'll either come and buy us and join it, and if they don't want to support it, I think Keith Prowse would become a target for us to buy with a PE. And maybe a 5 million and a 5 million, you're a 10 million EBITDA business, and then you could be looking at 12-time multiples.
Yeah, you're not crazy at all. That is a classic roll-in where you're basically coming together and you're rolling those businesses into an umbrella business, but you have the ability to retain your autonomy. You consolidate or create shared resources, and you have the buying power of the group. So you effectively get the benefit of what we call merger synergies when you would merge somebody in, but you still retain autonomy. So there's still some inefficiencies in that program, but the benefit is that if someone wants to leave at any time, you provide a mechanism for them to basically go out, and there's a breakup that doesn't create a hassle for everybody because you haven't fully integrated the companies. So I do think that makes a lot of sense. The other thing that I would say is that with respect to those smaller businesses that you're talking about, don't rule them out, because keep in mind, when we went through those 9 or 10 different reasons that people sell, they are definitely right now, some of them having challenges with money. They are having challenges with partners. They are dying. They are having health problems. They're wanting to, pass on succession. They want to relocate. They don't want to go through another recession, so there will be plenty of those lifestyle businesses that all you have to do is figure out, how do I get them, especially if you see growth. If you've got efficiencies and growth that you can bring to those companies, and they're taking out, I think you said like 125K or something like that. Is that 125,000?
Probably salary, yeah. In some of the cases I've seen that, and then obviously the dividends.
So now if they get to walk away from all of the hassles of that, because we say lifestyle business and it sounds really sexy until it's like, well, my lifestyle is I have to be the dancing bear and work for my thing that they're throwing me. Maybe not everybody wants to do that, or they're scared. And so if you give them the ability to continue to get some amount of money through a combination of acquisition and consulting, you could probably take over the book of business of several of those And then you bring them into your company, and your company is getting the benefit of that growth in addition to doing your roll-in strategy. So what's cool is you've got two solutions. You've got, hey, I would like to acquire you. That's my first pitch, is I'm interested in acquiring. No, you know, we get £500,000 a year. We're not, you know, really into that because we're happy to continue to work and we think things are going to change and blah, blah. Awesome. You know what we could do then? We could just roll you into this company, and effectively you get to be like a big company, and you get to attract a big company, and you get to have the heft of a big company without losing your autonomy and independence. So I love that as a two-step pitch.
And would you be able to define the equity upon the exit and not on the entry into the roll-up? So, for example, what I'd like to do in effect is create a group of businesses that are all actually trying to get the biggest amount of EBIT that goes into the final sale that would represent the proportion that they would pull out of the sale. That makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And there's, you know, what you're likely to do is, and you could do this as the managing partner of or the managing director, the MD of the NewCo, is that basically there would be some sort of profit split. So let's say that they're coming in at valuations of 2, 3, 4 times, and you're able to exit because of the bigger group at a 9 or 10. Then you might give them a preference on the initial valuation that you got. So basically, if you come in at, let's say you're doing £500,000 a year and you come in at $1.5 million valuation, then on exit, you're at a $3 million valuation, then you might split some of the up, because your efforts in creating the vehicle that is going to exit is going to create a lot of additional value for them. So you give them a preference on exit for their 1.5, and then because you're getting 3 on the exit. So you take the 3 that is allocable to them out of the total sales price, then they get their 1.5, and then the additional 1.5, maybe you split 50-50, right? So they're picking up an additional 1.5 that they would not have otherwise gotten as a result of being in the deal, but you're also getting compensated for helping out and helping them make that happen. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's better than I just haven't got myself down for 1%, but
yeah, you want to change that for sure. Yeah, and I can tell you,
but part of the pitch, Roland, was for me say, look, I'm not trying to change your business, or I just want us to come together, combine EBITDAs, and then get the higher multiples that higher EBIT gets. The part of me coming across was, look, I don't want to earn out of you. I'm not trying to rip anyone off. I just want to combine EBITs.
Yeah, but you don't want to do that, because I can tell you it's a lot of work what you're talking about doing, and you're going to be creating a lot of additional value for them. And I have a deal like that right now in a CBD fund that we put together, and that's how we're doing that. So we're acquiring these companies, and we're giving them a pref on the valuation, and it's a fair valuation going in. And that valuation continues. So if they increased their EBITDA as part of this deal even, then the valuation continues to increase along those lines. But that additional valuation that we're getting as a result of us putting this thing together on exit, we need to be compensated for, because it's a lot of work to do this, right? So you're providing them with a lot of benefits in terms of heft, in terms of consolidated buying power, you know, in terms of this increased EBITDA. So they're getting benefits all along the way, and you need to be part of that as the MD for the NewCo.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. And if you want a model like that 2 and 20 model would be very good here, and very, very, either a 2 and 20 or a 3 and 30 model where you take a 2% admin fee on combined EBITDA for the entity to cover administrative expenses while operating. And then you're not looking really to make a profit there. You're just looking to be able to pay the people that are going to run NewCo and file its taxes and do its accounting and the consolidated.
Yeah, to be fair, I was just going to do a charge back to them or split it pro rata. But yeah, so you do a 2% on EBIT, would you?
Yeah, you do it either a 2 or a 3, and then you have 20 to 30% to the MD for doing the deal. So 2 and 20 would mean you take a 2% admin fee, you get 20% of the profits, or a 3 and 30. Either of those, 2 and 20 is probably the most common.
Great. Okay.
Love it.
Thank
Let me know
you.
how that goes. That's exciting. That's a really good plan. All right, let's see. Daniela, there are many of us Canadians in the group, but as a Canadian who has lived in the US for 15 years, I'd be happy to connect and give you my take. Cool. Daniela, you should connect with Gia on that. That's very kind of you. Thank you. Kyle, can you elaborate on how to sit above the business when it comes to scalable? When investing, are you staying at the holding company level being an advisor? Yes, we are staying at the holding company level at Scalable, and we are advisors to our portfolio companies. And so we will do hit and run projects where there's a specific thing that we can do to add value to one of those portfolio holdings. And so we'll go in and bring our Scalable team members who will be helpful to that initiative down to that company to help make it happen or to coach their people. And then we go back up to Scalable, let them do their implementation, let them absorb the training, get the benefit that we added, and they continue to run their companies. Let's see. Yev, Roland, how long do you think the lower multiple will last that you introduced in the 5-day challenge due to the pandemic? I think it's going to last a long time, Yev. It really is. It's let's see, 4 weeks of Epic. I was fast-paced acquiring traffic assets, but then slowed down to realign and focus. Yeah, I think that makes sense. That's typically just the process of integration, Yev. So you'll run your program to find acquisition candidates. You'll get some. You'll close a couple of deals. Then you want to spend time, but you don't want to just go out and do more deals immediately unless you have the capacity to do that, to the neglect of the deals that you did. So it depends on your infrastructure and your team, but definitely take the time to focus on the deals you've got. Now, I do advise that you do not slow down on your marketing activities, because you can always share deals if you have new deals coming in with other people who are in the group and joint venture them, right? You can be the deal finder in those cases. You definitely, though, don't want to turn off your deal finding mechanism, because once you've got the deals that you've identified and closed integrated into your program, then you're going to want more deals. And if you've shut it off, then you have to start from a cold start again. It's better to keep that going. So, but as far as how long I think the lower multiple thing is going to last, I mean, this whole program isn't based on the pandemic. It is taking into account, it is informed by the pandemic and the fact that multiples are lower during that time. But keep in mind, we're always looking for motivated sellers. So before the pandemic, in the United States alone, we had 595,000 businesses a year that were simply closing their doors. We have all kinds of reasons that sellers are motivated. We have 80% of the listings in business brokers and sales sites that do not sell. So all of those are still present even without a pandemic. So we don't really care how long the pandemic depresses prices, except that we actually would like to get past it so that when we're exiting, we can get higher prices. But the fact that there's always going to be motivated sellers and there's always going to be creative ways to finance deals is not going away, whether it's here or not. Okay, let's see. Okay, just looking through the questions. Z Watson, what's an overview of the milestones required to acquire a company from the LOI to closing? I kind of went through that, Z, and it is in, I believe, the final training that comes out in, it gets released in 4 parts. There's a section where we talk about that there. Shelly, okay, good. Let's see. Okay, just looking. Let's see. Jack Gordon said some sort of master index would be amazing. Jack, it's pretty well laid out, but Deanna and Bailey, is there maybe an outline that we could provide people that has like just basically an exploded version of, if you click on everything that shows everything that's in there, that then could be an index that we put as a guide for people?
We will be happy to create one, absolutely.
Nice.
Again, guys, we're only getting better and better because of your suggestions, so this is great. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Jack. I appreciate that. Let's see. Are we getting to have access to material, or will you take it out of Kajabi? No, that stays in Kajabi. You should be all set there. Who asked that? Looks like Sonny. Okay, going through. Thank you,
Dana, the answer is no. I don't ever say no.
Okay, great. You guys answered that. Thank you. Where can I find questions I ask the seller? That is in part 1. Let's see. This is really great, guys, and I love. I think that all of the clarifications that come from the questions that you ask, as Deanna said, they only make us better. Okay, Lewis, a couple of questions about culture. What's your process for evaluating a company culture? What are some of the biggest mistakes when it makes coming to culture? Yeah, so for culture, for evaluating and assessing a company's culture, Lewis, the best thing that you can do is do an ENPS. That's an employee net promoter score, where you're asking, it's a formal survey where you send it out to all of the employees of the company and you say, how likely are you on a scale of 1 to 10 to recommend this company as a place to work for your friends? And then based on those responses, you'll get an ENPS score, and that will tell you how happy or unhappy the employees are based on determining how many of them would actually recommend the company to work at for somebody that they know who would be interested in finding a job in a related industry. The biggest mistake is not taking the pulse of culture. So there are software programs. I'm not sure which one we're using now. Deanna, do you know what one we're using now that's kind of keeping track of the keeping a pulse on the employee happiness and whatnot?
I mean, we're using Recess right now as far as communicating with everybody, and so that's what we're using internally.
Yeah, so I think a failure to the failure, Lewis, of most companies or people who are acquiring companies to take culture into account at all starts. That's the very first thing. The second thing is then not getting a formal survey to take the temperature of how happy or unhappy are all the employees, and then actually taking the time to have management interviews with key employees to find out how happy are they, what do they think could be improved, what do they like, what do they not like, do they intend to stay? You know, those are really important, because if you're counting on a key employee staying at the company and they're not planning on it post-acquisition, that's going to be a big deal for you. And then trying to move to integration too quickly also would be another, that if you've got different cultures, if it's this is a great example from one of our deals, is if you have a pirate ship culture, you know, where it's like, you know, every person for themselves, and, you know, it's eat what you kill, and that kind of very, you know, pound your chest, macho, independent, not team player, individual achievement based, getting ahead kind of culture, versus a very integrated company where the people are supporting each other and it's not about one person shining, it's about the company moving forward towards a common goal that they've all had a participation in shaping. Those cultures are not going to go together well. So like right off the bat, if you determine you have an antithetical culture in your potential acquisition, then you need to think about, I'm not going to integrate these companies. I'm not going to integrate. It's not going to work if you do, right? You're going to lose all the key people because they like that culture over there. Like a lot of sales-based companies have a culture like that. It's not to us, you know, what we want. So when we have the opportunity to have something like that, we will pass. If we get something like that as part of a deal, and there's one example in particular where that happened, then we spin that off. We'll sell that part of the company to somebody else. Let's see. Stephanie, you like the expectation cycle? Yeah, I just thought about that. I actually think that would be a good topic for me to chat about. So I'll work a little bit more up on that. Let's see. We've got, I'm in the middle of a deal. I've been taking action. Where's the best place to start in terms of the portal to support the transaction? I think going through the agreements and looking at, like, I use the agreements as checklists. So because especially the asset purchase agreement has a lot of different sections in the beginning. And I just go through there, and that gives me the ability to think about that. And then I would also go through the 3 videos that we did on the 216 strategies, just to kind of get your mind thinking about different ways that you can do deals.
Thank you, Roland. Just want to say thank you so much. I really appreciate it. That was my question.
Oh, your name is not there. It's your KYC Consulting. What is your name?
It's Katrina. It's Katrina.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I just want to say that the information blew my mind, and it's changed everything for me. And actually, Adam gave some advice. He mentioned doing an audit. So I feel that I'm English, we're reserved. There's been a bit of a different culture. And by doing the audit, they don't have that standoffish, like, what do you mean you want to buy my business? They actually see it as an opportunity. So they're like, oh, you think? Like, and I'm noticing gaps. So I do a gap analysis and I'm saying, hey, you really need this. And they're like, so the deal I'm doing at the moment, she offered it to me. I didn't even position it. I've got another one. Yeah, honestly, I've got another one with about 6 corporate companies, but I'm reverse engineering. So I've got to confess, I didn't turn up to all the classes, and I haven't looked at all of the agreements because it's so vast, but it's amazing. So I just want to say thank you. Thanks so much.
Thank you for letting me know that. And I see on the back over your shoulder that you've acquired Chanel. Congratulations on that.
Oh yeah, look at this.
We're gonna be looking for some for some swag from you soon. That's great.
Be coming. Thanks again.
Yeah, as far as the vastness, it is because there's so much, and that's why we did the color coding now. So I don't know if you came into the the 3.0 where we finally said, okay.
I don't even know where I think I'm 2. Sharon, okay. What number are we? 2 or 3? Yeah, I'm definitely 2.
Yeah. So we added, because a lot of people were talking about that, and so we wanted to make it a little bit more clear what were like the core, what was recommended, what's kind of bonus extra stuff. So since you are now getting access to all of the 3.0 stuff too, you might find that more helpful for kind of guiding you through that. Yeah. But obviously I'm here, Deanna's here, Bailey.
Yeah, thanks to the team as well. I'm the annoying person in the UK that says, what time's class?
I love it. Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks again.
You are very welcome. Awesome. And good luck with that deal. Okay, let's see. Okay, Preston, you're in Peter Lang's program. That call with Peter would help. Yeah, Deanna and Bailey will coordinate that for sure. Let's see, which Deanna, of course, instantly said that she would. Great, great, great. Let's see. Mike Foley, you've got a question on doing an asset versus stock purchase. Let's pull Mike up and see if we can get Mike answered.
Hi, I think I'm here.
There you go.
So looking at purchasing a company right now and trying to debate, which is the best way to do the offer. I see the asset purchase as being, there's the advantage of the liability, getting rid of the liability, and also getting the depreciation as opposed to a stock sale. But the stock sale just seems so much easier. You don't have to redo all the employee agreements and the vendor agreements and contracts. And I don't know, I just wanted to get your opinion. I guess I'm kind of worried that, maybe you get into redoing some of the vendor contracts or customer contracts and they don't want to do it because, the guy that's selling it to me has a ton of experience in the industry and I don't. So I just want to get your take on that.
Yeah, I haven't ever had a challenge with that. I mean, every deal, of course, is its own, unique snowflake of a deal that you have to look at each of the bits and say, if there's some super favorable deal that's there, then maybe you do an asset purchase of all of the key assets, but you keep that company to run those through, and that becomes a supplier company. So then you've carved out much of the value into your SPV of the assets. Now you've got all those benefits of that, and you've shielded yourself from any potential liability, but you've still got the A1 credit rating and the relationships and whatnot of that company, and it becomes simply a supplier company to your SPV. That'd probably be the best way to structure that. But I mean, pretty much always want an asset purchase as opposed to a stock purchase, unless there's some compelling reason to make it a stock. Like maybe that company has a great credit line that I'm going to be able to draw on, or an amazing merchant account deposits that I'm going to be able to take advantage of that they've forgotten about, or something like that. But vendor relationships would be a good one as well. But I don't want to, at the same time, miss out on the benefit of the taxes, and I don't want to miss out on the cutting off the liability. So that would be a hybridized transaction that would work just fine. And then as part of the asset purchase agreement, you could include the stock of the company, even though the assets are going to be stripped.
Got it. Okay. Didn't think about that. All right. Thank you.
That's why we're here. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Okay, let's see. Xavier, when buying 10 to 25% of a business, how do you talk to the other co-owners and explain that your work is to merge other businesses and you want them to keep working inside the business? I mean, that's just a conversation, Xavier. I don't know how to, I mean, I just would just be very straightforward and tell them that's the plan. So if you want to talk about that more specifically, then Deanna can set up a call and we can chat about it. But that's really exactly how I would do it. I just have the conversation, and it either works or doesn't. I find being very straightforward and transparent is always the best way to be. Let's see. Sometimes it's kind of painful to do it, but it's still the best. Let's see, Jason, I like the idea you mentioned in the training of using sponsors when acquiring traffic assets. It really is, especially for traffic assets, one of the best things to do. Would be interested in additional context in how that works. We have a call, Deanna. I don't know if we set it up and it's done, or it's on the calendar, or she did it already, but isn't Carrie, who's our sponsorship director, and you doing a call on exactly this thing?
We already did it, and it's already in the 2.0s and the 3.0s portals. It's already done.
Okay, and so where does that show up?
It would be under their additional training.
Okay, so Jason, we got you on that. Somebody else did ask about that, and so we did that call specifically for that reason. Let's see.
It's a really good call too. You guys should really watch it because it covers a lot of things. So
yeah, all the other calls are basically crap, right? But that call, finally, we did one that was good. That's very good. Deanna and Carrie did that call. Okay, Xavier, how to explain to group admin that we want to take over after the first introduction without coming off as too aggressive. I tried some introductions, but most of them didn't seem interested. Yeah, I mean, it's a numbers game. So it's if you're talking about, as I believe you are, like a Facebook group or a traffic asset, it is a numbers game. This whole thing is a numbers game. So you'll find some people that are motivated and some people that aren't, and it sounds like you got somebody that wasn't. So just move on to the next one. Let's see. She does, Dana, tell me no, by the way. She says, but she says it in the nicest way, where it's kind of like she's saying yes, but ultimately I know it's going to be a no. Let's see. Suleiman, what is the biggest block you've seen people have in following the training? Acquisition entrepreneurship is very exciting, but it's a new terrain for you. Yeah, the biggest block is always mindset. The biggest block for me is always mindset. For the most successful people I know, for people that you guys might think have got it all together, everyone is always inhibited and constrained by the way they think, way more than anything else. So the key is when you feel yourself getting into uncomfortable territory, or saying no, or saying now it's the time to stop, that's the time to really perk up and say, I need to go forward. I need to push myself through this. And if you do that, you will be uncomfortable a lot of the time, but you will become comfortable being uncomfortable. You will actually start to seek it out. So I find that the most contentious, messed up, screwed up deals are very often the best deals. And so I don't let the fear of not knowing how to do something, or the fear of not knowing how to pay for something, or I'm tired and I'd just like to I don't want to deal with this anymore, I'll just pass this one off, or whatever. That's the pushing through. That's what makes the difference. Even like we were talking with Gia about, and Erwin about, going out and finding the culture and all that, like that pushing through and going the extra mile, not stopping, not saying no, and not accepting from your brain. David Goggins said it best, I think, and he told this to Jesse Itzler, which is how I got introduced to Goggins stuff. that we typically under index by 60%. We're almost always only doing 40% of our capacity at any moment. And so to me, the biggest thing that holds us all back in every area of our lives is that we're satisfied with that 40%. And we aren't willing to, number one, we don't even know that we're only doing 40%. We don't know that 100% is possible. And that then after that, when we do know, when we do have the awareness, we don't choose to go the full distance. And that to me is what makes all the difference. So that's the, I'm pretty passionate about that. Let's see, Richard, I'm looking to acquire another entity to create a group. Do I need to acquire a controlling stake in the company for an ultimate acquirer to look at the entity as being of value to the group? No, you don't. You might want control, Richard, to be comfortable that you are going to be able to realize your vision for what you're putting together. So that would be important, but keep in mind, you can have control without having a majority of the equity. So that can be done through contract, through proxy, through special different voting rights, things like that. I talk about that in part 1 of the videos that I released when I talk about structure. Let's see. I know you don't like the medical business, but that's all I know. What would you suggest for me? So it's not that I don't like the medical business, Sonny. It's just that it's regulated heavily and there's all kinds of minefields. So if someone came to me with a medical business deal that had the experience, which it sounds like you do, I would definitely be interested in it. So don't rule that out just because some idiot like me said, I don't like medical deals, right? I don't like them because I don't know the field. So if you were to come into the group and say, hey, I've got this really cool deal on a medical device company or a medical practice group or something like, whatever it is, a medical billing company, then that would be something potentially that I or many people in the group would be interested in. So, feel free to put that out there and let us know, and then let's see. Jamil, Delighted.com. I think we use Delighted in one of our businesses. It is a good NPS solution for internal use. I agree. Let's see. Okay. You guys are using Recess. That's great. Don't they have access to Recess as part of this through Praxio? Isn't Praxio got Recess as part of it, Dee?
I know everyone gets Praxio. I'm not sure that they have the Recess yet. Richard was working on getting that out, so we're working on that.
But we're going to give them access to Recess so they can try that. Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Let's see. Richard, so does it sometimes make sense not to integrate, but to keep the company as separate entities under a group umbrella? Yes, absolutely, Richard. Absolutely. Particularly when you have cultural challenges. That is a really good time to do that. Let's see. Okay, you guys are answering questions, which I love. Okay, Kyle, I was listening to an interview you did with Lab Coat Agents, yes, with Tristan and those guys. You said you hope the deals that you're doing today you will not be interested in a year from now. Can I get a glimpse into how your mind works from thinking about the next step to grow? It's a great question, Kyle. To me, if I am doing the same level of deals a year from now that I am doing today, I am disappointed because it means that I have accepted my current level of under-indexing and underperforming below the potential that I know exists. And it also means that I haven't pushed the higher end of what I'm able to accomplish beyond where the ceiling on it is right now at this moment. So I choose to believe that there's no limit on the ability to expand for any of us into whatever size deals or whatever we want. We inform that opportunity by our mindset, our limiting beliefs, and our desire for quality of life, because there are trade-offs, because money isn't everything. So my thinking is that I want to be pushing the level that I'm under-indexing by down, meaning I want to push farther into my potential than I am pushing now, a year from now, each year. and I want to raise the level of what my comfort level is, or my artificially imposed cap on the infinite possibility is, so that if, I say I want to do a $1 billion deal, right? I want to do a $1 billion deal. Well, why is that not a $10 billion deal? It's not a $10 billion deal, not because I don't believe I can do a $10 billion deal, but because right now I'm not plugged into those deals. The competition from the private equity funds is great, but I can solve that by building my own private equity fund. But I also want to be able to go to dinner with my boys and my wife and hang out and do fun things and play the piano and stuff like that. So how do I balance all that stuff? The best way is to always be upping the level of how far you are indexing towards your ultimate potential, and how do you increase your acceptable level of constrained potential. I hope that makes sense. It's kind of esoteric, but Kamal Ravikant, who's a buddy of mine, whose brother is Naval Ravikant, that founded Angel List, and I had a conversation yesterday, I think it was, or day before yesterday, right after was it Sunday that you and I talked with Kamal? And
Yes.
And we talked about this a lot, and I'm going to do a podcast interview with him and dig into it a little bit more. But I hope that helps somewhat. I don't know how clearly articulated that was, but I'm always happy to chat about that stuff.
Hey, Roland, sorry to bother you, but we have 4 minutes or 3 minutes until the elites have their grant call on this same account. So,
well, I think we're through pretty much all of the questions. What is recessed used for? Deanna, if you can answer that in the chat. Medical spa or the like. Yes, I do like that. Let's see. Yeah, we all have bad days, Judy. Absolutely. Okay, great. And then I've got 30 messages from Deanna saying we have the leadership meeting in 9 minutes, which I love that about you. So I think we got pretty much everything. If you guys have anything that didn't get answered, just post it in the group or shoot us a message, let us know. But thank you for being here today, and appreciate you guys taking the time to be on the call. And it's very exciting to see what you're doing. Please share with us all of the things that you are doing, because we want to hear from you, and we want to share that with other people in the group. I think that's it. Dee, anything else?
that's it, guys. And if you're an elite, jump back onto the next link, because you guys have a call in 2 minutes with Chris Daigle and Grant Teeple, our M&A attorney.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful day.